You're listening to Partnernomics Podcast, where we discuss the art and science of developing successful strategic partnerships. To learn more about the suite of Partnernomics solutions, visit partnernomics.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Partnernomics Podcast. This is Mark Brigman, and I have Tyler Pittman with me.
How we doing?
Tyler, what's up, buddy?
How are you?
Good, man. Life is good. So, what's new, man? You've been busting through some videos, man, doing some editing for us.
Oh yeah, I'm learning all the Adobes, Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere. Just getting my feet wet. Recently coming out of college, I jumped on with you, and it's been fun. You learn a lot really quickly too.
Did you learn everything in college that you needed to know?
No.
Absolutely. Amen. Not. That's when the real learning starts.
That is correct.
Man, you hit the front door of the business. I remember, I went bachelor's, master's back-to-back in econ, and I thought I had a couple answers, but man, when I started my career with Sprint in the late 90s, wow. Steep learning curve, man.
It's a whole different world.
Steep really learning curve. But it's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what is the topic for today? What kind of things you want to crank through?
Man, as I've been cutting these videos, I think a great topic for a podcast was our thought leader conversations that you've done. Yeah. And so
Dude, those are such a blast to do, man.
Yeah, pretty fun.
Oh my gosh.
You're interviewing some really, really cool, smart, successful people.
It has been so cool and so fun. Honestly, I'm not much of a reader. I'm not much of a reader. I'm just absolutely addicted to TED Talks and to YouTube, and I'm just more of an audio and a visual guy.
Yeah.
And whenever a couple years ago we had we'd launched a program called C-Level Secrets.
Yep.
Whenever we first launched Partnernomics, several years ago, 5 years ago. And it was really fun. So what we did is we pulled people into the studio and we interviewed them. And it was mostly kind of local business leaders, but all different flavors, right? You got CFOs, CEOs, marketing officers, and just trying to pull down different kind of understanding their story, but then also trying to glean those golden nuggets that people could take away.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a challenge, and frankly, it was just kind of expensive from a time perspective because it was all in studio.
Right.
If people want to go to the Partnernomics channel on YouTube, they can see, a bunch of those. But we decided to go after these New York Times bestsellers, these Wall Street Journal bestsellers, CEOs of $500 million companies, multi-billion dollar companies, and talk with them and give them a platform to share their insights. And so that's what the Thought Leader Conversations are, those video interviews that we do using Zoom or something similar. Man, it has been so fun.
Yeah.
I could do them every day.
Yeah. They're entertaining to watch. Not only the interaction, but man, you can learn a lot from those guys and yourself. So,
well, I do. I learn a ton from them.
Yeah,
and it's so cool just to meet these people. Well, obviously the ones that say yes to us. And we don't have 100% hit rate, but we go after the big dogs and the ones that are willing to take the time out and to talk with us, let us interview them, ask them the questions. They're the people that really want to help, want to share their insights. And man, it's so cool. It's so awesome. It's what makes this world of business so fun to be in as a profession.
Yeah. And they're all such good interviews too. Just, their ability to convey a message and really push their insights, and a lot of they're successful, so what they've been doing is working. So it's, man, they're packed with really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
So what made you want to start that? I mean, obviously we've put it into the curriculum and it's part of it, but yeah, what drove you to start it?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I did with Partnernomics is I wanted to create this end-to-end playbook. And so as we built out this playbook of all of these different processes, we really highlighted all of these different areas or all these different topics. So just like we talked about in the last podcast, the partnership success pyramid, trust, alignment, transparency or effective communication, commitment, all of these sorts of things, each of those are topics where there are experts.
Yeah.
That know this thing 100 times better than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just the curator, right? I'm just the person putting all the ingredients together for people, but I'm by no means, an expert in all of those areas. And so I was like, man, well, rather than me share what I know and my perspectives, I need to go much broader, much wider, and bring in experts on these different topics. And then I can share and color in how it relates to partnerships and partnering specifically. And what my experience has been just to provide some different context to the topics. But man, why not go after these, like I said, New York Times bestsellers, Wall Street Journal bestsellers, these, very, very successful CEOs and other executives, and pull their insights into it. And that's exactly what we've done.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well. They're the top of the line in those topics. So rather than trying to, look up these topics and dive deeper yourself, why not get the people that have done this for 20, 30 years?
Hear from the horse's mouth, as they say, right?
That's right.
Why not hear directly from them, from the experts?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so fun to do, man. Gosh, I could literally do it every day, just talking to these people and grabbing their insights.
Yeah, they're a great listen too.
Yeah, well, dude. Well, you've had the opportunity to listen to a bunch of them, man. You're chopping them all into the Q&As. Why don't you tell us about that project that you kicked off?
Yeah, the Q&As is, taking the thought leader conversations that you have done, and I just go through and cut them into each individual question. I'm cutting them down, and you can get a lot of value at seeing each question and really honing in on what each question means, what the message you want. So I'm cutting those up, and we're shooting 2 to 3 a week out on LinkedIn, just to entice people and really show the value of them. And then we're also soon going to be launching them on the website to where people can come and subscribe for free. And we'll upload 5 new questions from, different thought leaders. And yeah, people can have access each week to 5 new ones. And I really, really think, you listeners and people that watch these are going to get a lot out of it. So.
Yeah, one of my buddies, I think it was buddy Tom, that just loves to plow through these business books. And he said that his approach, whenever he's got a book, cruising through a TED Talk, reading a research study, he says he tries to come out of it with just one thing. Right? Just come out of that with one thing. And as I think about the thought leader conversation Q&As that you're cutting up, when you get to listen to this entire interview, 25, 35, 45 minutes, however long it is, and chop it up into those 12, 15, 20 questions, and you're kind of picking the cream of the crop.
Right.
You're picking that. It's not reading this 8-hour book. It's grabbing that one thing.
It's the golden nuggets, as we call them.
Yeah.
And they drop them question after question after question, but as I'm cutting them, I'm watching each question multiple times. So what else am I going to do other than I'm going to sit there and I'm going to really listen and figure out what these dudes are trying to say and how it can really apply to every walk of life. And sure enough, it's definitely applicable to partnerships too. So, which demographic or career level can get the most out of these thought leader conversations, in your opinion?
Yeah. Man, I would say, so which demographic? All.
Yeah.
I mean, literally you're straight out of college, right? Just finished your bachelor's in business. And I know we just talk about them all the time, the insights that you pull out of that.
Yeah.
And so, from that, and then also whenever we take people through one of our coaching cohort programs, I've got people that have been CEO for 30 and 40 years, I can't get them to shut up about the thought leader conversation and certain interviews. And they're just peeling out nugget after nugget, talking about just how insightful the interview was.
Yeah.
So it's the full range.
Yeah.
I think it's more of certain people have a desire and a thirst and an interest to learn more.
Yeah.
And I think that's the target. Those are
Right.
the people. And it's everything from can be the 18, 19-year-old, all the way to that person that's, right on the edge of retirement or even beyond. People are just lifelong learners.
I mean, if you're willing to learn and that's what you like to do, that's what these things are for, man. And it's like you say, you just got to listen. I mean, you don't even have to watch it, but it's just golden nuggets that these guys are dropping, and they've done the research and they have the knowledge on the topics. So it would take a lifetime, as they have, to really dive that deep into these topics and get the takeaways you want. But I mean, these thought leader conversations just provide it right there for you.
Yeah, one of my friends, professional colleagues, Sean Kincaid, he's a business coach in the Kansas City market, and he hosts these monthly business book reviews.
Yep.
And they're so fun to go to. They're so cool, so insightful. But essentially what he does is he does a presentation to give you all of the cliff notes, all of the major takeaways from these awesome resources all over, the full range of business,
right?
From culture to finances to building trust. The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Chris McChesney.
Great book.
One of the interviews that we have.
Right.
So I mean, all of these, really awesome top shelf books, these great books, that's what he does with his business book reviews. And we essentially do the same thing, but just a lot easier, I guess, for people to grab that. We get the authors themselves.
Yeah.
We interview them. We ask them the 15, 16, 17 questions, how much we have time for, but we get to hear from them directly,
Right.
and understand the full context of those different concepts and hear what went into their research and their lessons learned and the times that they got it wrong, right? Their failures and all of the different learnings from that. But yeah, I mean, instead of somebody plowing through an 8-hour book or whatever the case is, they can watch a 25, 30-minute interview and walk away with all those key points.
Absolutely. It's a culmination of all of their research that they've done, and it really packages it together well, and you can, as I have, learned a lot from it. So I mean, we've mentioned, in previous podcasts a couple of the people that are in these interviews, and as you just stated, Chris McChesney. So who all have you interviewed?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been so lucky. But John Gordon is one that I really enjoyed him, and man, he's got a new book that I think it just came out like a week ago, and it's already one of the lists. It's already a bestseller on one of the lists. I think it's the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
But he wrote The Energy Bus, The Power of Positive Leadership, Power of a Positive Team. I think he's over 10 books. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but man, just a great presenter, a very, very sharp guy.
He's been with a lot of professional sports teams. He goes in and talks leadership and all that with them. So team building.
Tons of different teams all over the board. You know, NFL, Major League Baseball. I think basketball teams, all of those sorts of
Clemson
things.
football.
Yeah,
I
college
he
levels.
mentions it in the interview itself. But man, he's a great interview and powerful voice too. So.
Yeah, so John Gordon, as we mentioned, Chris McChesney, 4 Disciplines of Execution. I mean, all of these, I would consider them to be business Bibles or right there close to it. They're kind of like they're must-reads, or at least to understand the takeaways from those. But yeah, 4 Disciplines of Execution. Chris McChesney, he's a Franklin Covey senior consultant. Wow, I mean, that guy's just, he's full of stories and full of knowledge.
Yeah.
And very animated, man. Whenever I need some energy, I either brew a new pot of coffee or I reach out to Chris, and he definitely does that for me.
Just turn on that thought leader interview. And
exactly.
Your energy's back up.
Absolutely. But so just to rattle some more of these out there, Jay Papasan, so he's one of the executives with Keller Williams, the largest real estate company in the world. The One Thing is I think probably his biggest book that he co-wrote, but Millionaire Real Estate Agent, several other books. We mentioned Paul Zak, Trust Factors. Man, just really, really good book. Super insightful. Nathan Furr on the Innovator's Method is the name of his book, but total innovation wizard, a Stanford PhD, super, super smart, and just at the right place at the right time. You know, a lot of the innovation work coming out of Silicon Valley, he was just right in the middle of it. Mike Michalowicz, Profit First, Clockwork, man, he just, as a person, as a human being, he has a really cool story, a very humble guy, but man, a very, very smart individual and somebody that can really articulate I just love the way that he articulates and just kind of lays out the knowledge, and you understand how to apply it immediately.
Right.
But he's written a lot of different books. As a matter of fact, I think he just launched a new book as well. But Clockwork was the last one that I was familiar with, and super cool. Just really about process and how to get more time back. Basically, how to run your business and not have your business run you. Jerry Porras. Built to Last, man, I say Built to Last is definitely one of those business Bibles that he wrote with Jim Collins, obviously the author of Good to Great, and one of the first business books that I was handed whenever I came out of college. Bernie Brenner, the co-founder of TrueCar, the CEO of Rollick now, he wrote a book called The Sumo Advantage. So it's how small companies can partner with larger businesses. And from a strategic partnering perspective, that man has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge to share. As a matter of fact, we've interviewed him twice. Yeah. And he's another one of those high energy guys that you just crank through a little bit of his presentation, you're ready to go run through a brick wall.
There's a lot of takeaways specifically steered towards partnering with his interviews. You know, these other guys, they talk about the different factors that we put into the curriculum, but Bernie's lived it. I mean, he talks about the partnerships, and so he really can attest to the failure rate, what causes failure, and how to make them successful. So, yeah, I think his interview, very, very big takeaways for regards to strictly partnering too.
Yeah, I think that I really enjoy about Bernie's insights is with TrueCar, for example. It's a story about innovation and even the David versus Goliath, the small business that builds its way up. But he specifically works in this world of channel partnerships. So how can companies leverage the power and the brand of giants to help them grow? Right. And TrueCar, we all know what it is now, but I think the organization is like 15 years old or so. Yeah. And they truly built a new product, a new market. I mean, they invented the world of using platforms to buy vehicles. Yeah. And it was they really took a lot of the pain out of the car buying experience.
And he mentions in that interview, he talks about, asking yourself as the business owner, what problem are you solving, And that was a big takeaway for me, because that's essentially what you're trying to do. You're trying to solve a problem that people have and be able to make a change for them. So
there's a lot of businesses that they're a product looking for a problem.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the approach that he says, you find the problem and then you go solve it.
Exactly.
Kind of the inverse of that.
Yeah.
And we don't always take that approach in business anyway.
No, right. So I guess we'll finish up, Mark, with asking you, how can people watch or listen to these videos?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. I don't know how many. There's several dozen of these videos that we've cut so far, and continue to record these new interviews each week, and then figure out where to set them in. But a couple different ways. I guess one is, as you had mentioned, the work that you're doing is cutting those into the Q&As.
Q&As, right?
And that we're posting out there on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. I know you're launching a page where people can actually subscribe to those.
Yeah.
So we'll be filtering those, funneling those out to subscribers for that individual list.
We'll launch out each week. Once we have your email for subscription, we'll launch those 5 new ones each week, and shoot you guys a link via email that then you just come over to the page and watch them. So
yeah. And I would say the other way to do that is, we initially created these thought leader interviews and have the entire interviews set into the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So as people go through the Strategic Partner Leadership model course, or the 5 phases course, or the Partnering Foundations course, they see these full interviews in their entirety, but they're wrapped in context based upon the topics that we're covering.
Yeah, like we
at
said.
that time.
Yeah, they do a deep dive on those. That's why we interviewed them. You want to get the insight on the specific topic. So it's a powerful way to learn. It beats reading a textbook, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no question. Well, it's good just to get different perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we try to do is lean on the shoulders of giants and to reach out and to collaborate with. There's literally been hundreds of different business professionals, whether it's through research that we've done and provided those insights, or it's things like the thought leader interviews.
Yeah.
We literally have leveraged the knowledge and power of hundreds of professionals to put our curriculum together.
Yeah. Yeah, and before we wrap this up, I would like to mention that, we have, like Mark said, multiple dozens of these already done, but we're not stopping there. We're going to continue to interview these, giants in their profession, and really try and pick their brains and, give the knowledge out to those who want to listen. So
awesome. Does that wrap it up for this one?
I think that wraps us up.
Another one in the books.
Another one.
Man, this is just too fast, too easy.
I know. Good stuff.
Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Partnernomics Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Partnernomics Podcast is brought to you by Partnernomics. Learn how to leverage the power of partnership. To listen to more episodes of Partnernomics Podcast, visit partnernomics.com.